Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the Anfield Review Pod. I'm Owen James. This is your Liverpool news update, guys. We're going to talk the latest, obviously, stories that are coming out about Mo Salah and why Liverpool have allowed him to leave for free. We're also going to talk a little bit around transfers as well, with news today that Liverpool don't plan to spend big in the summer. Worrying indeed after what happened in January, and also, given all the holes still in the squad and how this is going against what a lot of people are advising. Well, look, let's get to the Mo Salah business. Obviously, still lots of fallout from the whole Mo Salah situation. Look, I've got to say though, there's a lot of horrible stuff. And I know social media is very poisonous. I get that. I get enough abuse myself, guys. But look, I think there's an awful lot of stuff being written online and put out online that is just people following agendas and not following agendas that have anything to do with Liverpool Football Club, with Mohamed Salah, with anybody, anything like that. Jamie Carragher came out and gave an opinion on who he thinks is the greatest 10 players that ever played for Liverpool. We are all entitled to our own opinion as to who the greatest 6 players are, or 10 players are, sorry, that have played for Liverpool. Now, obviously, Salah was put 6th by Jamie Carragher, which has then obviously led to a whole load of hate for Carragher online. I mean, myself, I put Salah at 4th in my list. I had Dalglish 1st, Rush 2nd, Gerrard 3rd, Salah 4th, Barnes 5th. Does that make me a racist, as Jamie Carragher has now been called? Seemingly so. I think this whole situation around, Carragher offering his opinion on who the greatest 6 to 10 players, or 5, however many players it was, he told, I think it was 10, that he said, and putting Salah at 6th, that's his opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. And look, he just because he hasn't put Mo Salah at number 1 does not make him a racist, a xenophobe, an Islamophobe. I mean, this is the absolute spurious shit that has been put out online by a number of people today, just basically saying that, oh, well, the only reason you're not putting Mo Salah is number 1 is because you're a racist. No, it's because myself, Kenny Dalglish will always be the greatest. Ian Rush, 5 league titles, 2 European Cups, over 340 odd goals that he scored for the leading scorer. Steven Gerrard, one of our own. That's why I put them where they are. And at times Gerrard played in a hell of a lot worse team than Salah and dragged that team to win things on his own back. So that's for me why I've put those people ahead of him. Doesn't make me a racist. Does not make me a racist. Anyway, look, what's been said around the Salah situation is this. According to sources at Anfield, the most prominent reason for Mo Salah's departure is his relationship with Arne Slot. The relationship deteriorated drastically, and it became a certainty that the two could not coexist in the same team next season. This is coming from an Egyptian journalist. This is not the only journalist to be saying this. This is a story that's done its rounds a number of times now, especially obviously coming off the back of the depressing news that came out yesterday that FSG intend allegedly to back their man for next season in Arne Slot. It does seem to carry some legs. There has obviously been issues between Mo and Arne Slot this season, which obviously culminated in the interview in the mix zone that Salah gave post Leeds. I think the relationship has broken down between the two, and I think, if ever a hint was given that Slot was going to stay next season, it's that Salah has been allowed to leave before the end of his contract. Now, look, perfectly decent of Liverpool to do what they did in terms of actually come out and say, we're going to cancel your contract, we're going to let you leave for nothing. Look, I don't really particularly want to debate the whys and wherefores of whether we should have let him leave for free or whether we should have tried to insist on a fee for the player in the summer. I think Mo's more than earned what he's got, and he's earned this deal. He's given the prime years of his career to Liverpool. He's given his all to Liverpool over those 9 years. And I think he deserves this, to be able to go and get a payday, to be able to go and go where he wants to go. Which I suppose you wouldn't have if you were been transferred. You'd be transferred to the highest bidder, and it may be that is a club that Salah doesn't want to go to. I don't know. Look, it's a complicated situation, but it's certainly concerning that it appears one of the reasons why Salah is going to leave Liverpool is because of the manager. And look, to me, as much as Salah has fallen off this season, and look, he has fallen off this season. If it's a choice between Salah and Slot, I choose Salah. I would every day. He's given far more to this club and achieved far more for this club than Arne Slot has done. Arne Slot's pretty much destroyed this club in the last 12 months. So, to me, it's such a sad shame that this may be one of the reasons why Mo Salah has announced he is leaving now. Now, Steven Gerrard, the Liverpool legend, has been talking about replacements for Salah. And this is what he had to say. And it kind of links into what we're going to talk about next on the video. He says, you have to buy someone who is box office or you are not replacing him. They have to be top end, top 3 or 4 wingers in the world to replace Mo Salah, because that's what Mo has been. Now, Steven Gerrard, I think, very, very clear in this. And that's obviously, I think, a lot of where these links to Michael Olise have come from. Obviously, Olise rated as one of the best wingers in world football currently. You know, the only issue, of course, like we've said on the video this morning that went out, which is if you're going to go box office, if you're going to go top 3 or 4, you're looking at over £100 million expenditure. And I highly doubt that Liverpool will spend over £100 million this summer on just one player. Again, it won't happen, I don't believe. But Gerrard is right. You know, if you are truly going to replace Mo Salah and bring someone into the team who is a true replacement for him, you are looking at someone like a Michael Olise, for example, who is going to be, you know, between 125, 150 million pounds to bring into the club. And, you know, I think if you fail to do that, then you haven't adequately replaced him, and you are replacing him with someone who could eventually be a very good winger. I think, you know, looking at someone like Yan Diamonde probably will cost about 80 or 90 million pounds. So, you know, look, interesting, though, that Gerrard has come out and said this, maybe, you know, trying to push across to FSG and to those in the club's hierarchy what exactly it is they need to do. Now, this all kind of falls on deaf ears, I think. And look, don't let anyone ever tell you that FSG have changed their ways when it comes to spending money. I think we've all just wanted FSG to kind of behave like a big club, and to some extent they did last summer. But, you know, when you actually explore it and explain it, it looks less and less like that and looks more like typical old tight FSG. The people whose wallets empty of moths when they open them. A man, John W. Henry, who squeaks when he walks. This is from the Anfield sector, and it's not only from Anfield sector, it's been reported by a number of journalists in the know. This has also come from The Athletic as well. It says, last summer's £450 million spending spree won't be repeated. That was described by senior Anfield figures as doing 3 windows in one. Such was the turnover in personnel. The money available in this summer will be influenced by whether Liverpool secure Champions League qualification. Now, look, I don't criticise the end statement. The end statement was always going to be the case, and is the case for any team that misses out on Champions League football. If you fail to secure Champions League football, you cannot secure those real top-level talents. 1, because you haven't got that Champions League money, and 2, you haven't got the pulling power to attract those Champions League level players who will look to go to teams playing in said Champions League. But that first comment, I'd love to know what it is, the spend, and how they justify this spend. Now, senior figures say we spent 450 million. Arne Slot says we spent 250 million. Well, the actual truth of it, when you look at net spend, now that's what it comes down to. Now, obviously that doesn't take into account signing bonuses, signing fees, agent fees, all these other things. But if you look at pure transfer fee, the actual net spend by Liverpool Football Club last summer was £228 million, which, yes, is a substantial amount of money. Agreed. And I'm going to come on to that. Now, the worrying thing here is that Liverpool Football Club are not in a position where they can afford to spend a small amount of money this coming summer. For me, they need centre-back, they need a right-back if Conor Bradley's going to be consistent injured. They need a 6, they need at least 2 wingers, possibly another striker, maybe another goalkeeper. You know, I don't know. There's a number of positions that still do need to be filled in this squad, and that's going to take money. You know, to buy in players who are Liverpool level players, who are players that are going to come and help us compete for the Premier League, help us to compete in the Champions League or in the Europa League, depending on which competition we are in. You need to spend substantial amounts of money, and that is not going to come cheap. And if you try and do it on the cheap, you will lead to building a squad that is not capable of competing for a Premier League title, that is not capable of competing for trophies. Now, let me just share this with you. So, Liverpool's net spend was £228 million in the window, with the fees we received for players we sold, the Darwin Núñez's, Luis Diaz's of this world. They came out and they said that was 3 windows in one. Well, if 228 million is 3 windows in one, that represents around 78 million pounds of expenditure per window. Well, 78 million pounds per window is exceptionally tight. It's ridiculous. I mean, just for a club like Liverpool to consider that £78 million per window would be enough to spend on players, you know, that is Burnley type spending. Nothing against Burnley. That is Burnley type spending. You know, that is quite ridiculous. I mean, if you take, for example, another team that are down in the bottom three, West Ham United. Last summer, West Ham United, again, their net spend was around that amount of money. So we're talking about spending a similar amount of money to relegation fighting teams is an acceptable amount of money for Liverpool to spend, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And just, I think, is starting to show FSG up for what they really are, which is very tight-fisted. Also worth placing in context for all those of you, the people that talk out there about Liverpool trying to buy the title this season. Our net spend was 228 million. Arsenal's was 242 million. So Arsenal actually spent 14 million pounds more than Liverpool in the window. Yet Liverpool are trying to buy the title. It's strange how the narrative works, isn't it? But an exceptionally worrying statement that is coming out of the club in terms of expenditure. And look, I'm not asking them to spend 450, 500 million this summer and they get no net spend in. You know, but they're going to have to spend a substantial amount of money to strengthen this squad to a degree where it's going to compete next season, no matter who the manager is for the beginning of the 26-27 season. Guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on the stories we've covered in this video. Thank you for watching the Anfield Review Pod. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you very, very soon.